Hi, my name is Melissa Monroe. On August 6th, 2013, I went to wake up my daughter, Alice Ferguson, from her nap. Her second birthday was just 11 days prior. All of her birthday banners were still up and the presents were still out. A present had arrived that day, in fact. She had a mild cold that day, but was otherwise a healthy, happy kid. So happy that we called her the mayor for her propensity to say hi to every single passerby. I felt something was wrong as soon as I stepped up to the door of her room on the afternoon of August 6th. I reached into her crib to grab her and found her stiff and blue. Through my work as an acupuncturist, I'm professionally trained in CPR, and I began CPR as soon as I called 911. I performed CPR while on hold with 911. I was performing CPR on my sweet daughter. The paramedics arrived soon after and pronounced her dead as I stood directly under her happy birthday banner. I collapsed. My world collapsed. I released an ungodly sound I could not be sure came from me. I looked up in a state of complete shock and saw a fireman convulsing in tears, his face pressed into the corner of my living room walls. Your life really can change in an instant. The autopsy found nothing, and her death was classified as SUDC, or sudden unexpected death in children. The chance of losing your child this way is about 1 in 100,000. 202 children died this way in 2013. I wanted to die. I would never take my own life, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to die on August 6th, 2013. I now know that I was in shock for several weeks after her death for mental health purposes, and because at that time vocalizing was very difficult for me, I began blogging about my experience and Alice's short life. I also began family therapy with my elder daughter, Grace, at the Southern California Counseling Center. Money was tight, and we needed counseling that was affordable. In those early weeks, I began having panic attacks, and I was completely consumed with guilt. I had never before had panic attacks, so it took me some time to realize what was happening. I began to realize that the panic attacks always happened on Tuesdays around the time she died. The attacks were often followed by feelings of intense peace a day later. While discussing these symptoms with my friend Tommy, a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, he mentioned that a colleague had symptoms like mine and that his colleague had PTSD. Oh, I thought I have PTSD, don't I? And Tommy just smiled kindly. It had not occurred to me at all that my experience could lead to PTSD. I was familiar with EMDR therapy, a relatively new treatment for PTSD, and I asked the center if they offered it. They did, and they do offer it, but they said it would take some time to match me with an appropriate therapist. In the meantime, the panic attacks became more frequent, more intense, longer duration. I was forced to pick up Grace from school one day while in the middle of an attack, something that was terrifying, enough for me to consider medication, which I was desperately trying to avoid. That very day, SCCC set me up with the amazing Hillary Henson for EMDR therapy. The EMDR work with Hillary was game-changing. The feelings of guilt reduced almost immediately. By the 5th treatment, I was a new person. And by the 8th and final treatment, I was strong. Strong in all caps. And I needed to be strong because I was about to lose other important things and relationships in December of 2013. But I didn't know that yet. While pacing one night a month later in January of 2014, I paced a lot in those days. I realized that the 11-day period between her birthday and death day was likely to be a tough period every year. I wanted something positive to pour myself into in Alice's honor to help navigate the most terrible of anniversaries. My girls and I love music, and we have many friends in the business, so the idea to host a memorial concert to benefit SCCC was born one night as I paced 6 months after Alice died. I asked the center if the funds could be earmarked to help their trauma training program so that more therapists could be trained in trauma modalities, therefore enabling them to treat more patients and treat them sooner. In December of 2014, a year later, the PTSD symptoms were reactivated and I began a second round of EMDR. If the first round of EMDR was game-changing, the second round was life-changing. I have no doubt whatsoever that what we accomplished in 2 sessions in that second round of treatments would have taken years in talk therapy alone. If something can change a person that much, that quickly, I just feel compelled to the very marrow of my bones to help people gain access to these treatments. SCCC has expanded its trauma training and resiliency program in the last year or two, something which makes me so very happy. Sadly, there seems to be no shortage of trauma these days, and therefore no shortage of people whose lives could take on a very different path if they had affordable access to effective care. I am eternally grateful to my SCCC therapists specifically and the donors and organization in general for ensuring that people like me are not sentenced to a life of hell on earth after the misfortune of tragedy. I highly doubt that I could be doing what I do now without all of you. I am deeply and forever grateful. And I thank you so much for remembering my sweetheart with me by helping others in her name. Alice Marie Ferguson, July 26th, 2011 to August 6th, 2013. Thank you.